Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one's going to be for volume 17 of the manga, which is called Itachi's Power. And here is our 3-in-1 cover page image here of Itachi, quite nice. But yeah, let's get just straight into this. We cover another 9 chapters. 145 to 153, Memories of Despair, Along with Hatred, It's My Fight, Itachi's Power, The Legendary, Training Begins, The Hook, The Second State, and The Searchers. Interesting volume in that I think the first third is actually really good. And I suppose the idea of the other two-thirds of it are quite good as well. It's just, for me, this is one of the volumes where the manga has felt a little bit weak compared to the anime. Reading these things like the Itachi Sasuke confrontation, it was really intense in the show. Here, there was definitely some intensity. It's just that I could very much tell that a lot of it was being kind of held back for later. Like, this wasn't the full extent of the flashback of what happened in Sasuke's past. This wasn't the full extent of like what Itachi's doing here. And then in the second half of the volume, just 6 chapters focused on the early stages of Naruto's training, and I suppose the early stages of his journey with Jiraiya to find Tsunade. It was just kind of like, okay, again, this was quite good in the anime. I still don't think overall the early parts of the Rasengan training are like the most amazing aspects of things, but I get why they want to devote a lot of time to it, because it's Naruto's like key technique, and explaining it quite well at the start is good. It's just a lot of explanation, and when you don't have the voice acting, when you don't have the movement of the animation, some of this comes across as a little bit like it doesn't come across the best in kind of manga, kind of comic format, where like the whole thing towards the end of this volume is like trying to get across this idea of Naruto making water spin around inside a water balloon. And it's kind of difficult to do just in still images, whereas you can kind of show it in animation. And so 6 chapters focusing on like, okay, he's doing this to a balloon, and then he tries to do it with a kind of rubber ball. It's like, okay, I get you're building up to this technique, you're teaching it to Naruto, who struggles to learn techniques easily enough, bit of an idiot and stuff like that, but it just isn't the most exciting stuff. What is good, though, is the setup of Tsunade. That we actually get to see her for the first time, and we obviously gradually get introduced to her. Like, they wait a while to like reveal her nickname along with her face, but when they do, the setup is actually quite good to that, because not only are Jiraiya and Naruto looking for her, to obviously bring back to the village, of course, to be the Hokage, but then towards the end of the Kisame Itachi kind of battle with Jiraiya, Guy shows up. And he also kind of makes a point about, if only we had her back in the village, I think Lee could be healed. So there's another person who would like Tsunade to come back to the village. And I really like that little appearance of Guy as, one, a way to make Tsunade returning even more important, but also to have someone there who can bring Sasuke back to the village and kind of be resting for when, obviously, Naruto later returns with Tsunade. So that was a kind of important kind of plot thing. And then towards the end of this, revealing that, okay, the other member of the legendary Sannin is Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. And he believes that Tsunade can heal his arms, and so Kabuto and Orochimaru are also out looking for Tsunade. So everyone's looking after her, and I like the way they set her up, and that she's kind of obsessed with betting. I kind of thought they'd go for some weird thing, because like Jiraiya makes the point about how the 3 vices of a ninja or shinobi, it's a drink, women, and money. And you have Jiraiya, who obviously falls victim to the pretty girls one, you have Tsunade who falls victim to the money one, but Orochimaru doesn't really fall victim to drink, though I suppose you could say it's kind of drunk with power, getting more ninjutsu. It's somewhat of a similar thing, but it's an interesting connection that, like, to some extent, all of the three legendary Sannin are fall victim to one of the vices of a shinobi. But really cool straight away setting up that all of the Sannin are in play. It's all based around getting Tsunade, who is just out on her own. She goes around the place betting money, but she loses all the time. It's like this thing that she has where she just has awful luck. She's not particularly good at playing these games, but she just does it anyway, and she has Shizune with her. Um, and yeah, her nickname is obviously the legendary sucker, or legendary loser as they call it here in the um, manga. So it's a slight difference, but gets the same thing across. And everyone seems to know, okay, she's heading to this specific village, that's where we need to find her, and that's the kind of key takeaway from the end of this. Everyone's coming towards Tsunade, and then we kind of just end this volume with she kind of playing the slot machines, gets 3 sevens, and her luck is turning around, and it's actually an example of her, like, okay, her betting luck is kind of like, okay, my life for the most part goes well, but I have bad luck with money. But when she starts to have good luck with the betting, the other side of things turns around. So you can see her bad luck is shifting towards more personal matters, and she's coming into play, and everyone's coming around her. So yeah, it's one of those kind of transitional volumes in that this is set up for the Tsunade arc, and that they haven't met her yet, and we haven't really kind of fully gotten into it yet. We're still in that point of where, like, okay, the Orochimaru attack on the village with the Sand Shinobi plot is just over. We've had Itachi's arrival, and now he's kind of out of the picture for a while. And I suppose going back to the first third of the book, it's interesting because the whole Akatsuki thing, the Akatsuki are basically out of the picture until Shippuden, effectively, as of this. This is the one time they even try to go after Naruto, but I suppose, you know, as we later find out, the reason why they don't really put a lot of effort in right now is because their organization is still in the process of growing. They need money, they need power, they need more shinobi involved before they can really make the full move that they want to make. But we are just aware that there is this lingering threat of this organization in the background who are out for the tailed beasts, specifically Naruto. And in terms of high level plot, Naruto needs to become more powerful to be able to protect himself from this threat which is coming at some point. But yeah, the first third of the book is definitely the most interesting one. You get Sasuke arriving to confront Itachi as Itachi is confronting Naruto, and Jiraiya is obviously missing because a woman has distracted him, and you get just this idea that, okay, Naruto for the first time discovers that Itachi has a brother. He makes the connection between what Sasuke said during their first meeting with Kakashi about the one person he wanted to kill being his brother. And we as the audience get the first gist of what the flashback is about what exactly happened, in that in the past, Sasuke really looked up to his older brother Itachi, but there tended to be this distance between Itachi and the rest of the family, as kind of highlighted with, you know, Sasuke wanting Itachi to teach him Shuriken Jutsu, but kind of Itachi brushing him off and doing the poke to the forehead thing, which becomes quite important later on. But definitely setting up that he is a very powerful shinobi, and that even Sasuke can see that Itachi's version of the Shuriken Jutsu is more powerful than their father's. But yeah, just presenting this, you know, happy family. We get to see Sasuke's parents for the first time, mother and father, and they both seem, you know, reasonably nice. And then they immediately transition to Sasuke on his way home one day, and he spots Itachi up on, you know, top of a kind of a lamppost, and returns home to find Itachi having just killed the parents. And the key thing we get, the reason why Sasuke is so obsessed with revenge, so badly wants to kill Itachi, is because he arrived in just after this happened, and Itachi used the Mangekyo Sharingan on him and basically made him experience the death of all the members of the Uchiha clan so many times over using the Tsukiyomi, and the last thing he said to Sasuke before he left was basically just, your goal is to kill me, let me find the exact quote. Yeah, Itachi says, if you want to kill me, settle for hating me. Hate me and live like the coward you are, clinging to life without honor. And so, Sasuke responds by saying, just as you told me to, I've resented and hated you and lived solely to kill you. And you could see how intense he is about it. He uses his Chidori, which impresses Itachi, but we see that the gulf in class between them is still far too great. There's huge emphasis here on the difference between, I suppose, Sharingans with 2 Tomoe that Sasuke has versus the 3, and then enhanced abilities with the Mangekyo Sharingan that Itachi has, that there's still too big of a gulf between them. And just ending here with another thing to spur Sasuke on, of Itachi saying, I've defeated you here, you don't hate enough. And I suppose from the anime, you don't have enough hate, and something you never will. And so this is a further thing that just shows, Sasuke that he's still not at that level. And this plus how powerful Naruto is becoming just endlessly frustrates Sasuke, and you're seeing the transition from him from being the character who's willing to put himself on the line for the people he cares about to becoming overly obsessed with the revenge against Itachi, because other characters are surpassing him. He still has such a long way to go that he's getting to the point now where if he can have an easy power boost, he will take it regardless of what that means for anything. So a lot of interesting potential stuff here, but again, the full scope of this being a huge shifting point for Sasuke hasn't really happened just yet. He's just been badly beaten at the hands of Itachi, and Jiraiya has become aware of how obsessed with revenge Sasuke is. And then just the setup for Naruto and what's going on here. One of the final things I suppose I want to talk about here is just the interaction between Jiraiya and Naruto. Towards the end here, you see Naruto begin to become frustrated with his relationship with Jiraiya, in that he does really like him, but he kind of is beginning to feel like, okay, he's not really helping me enough. I'm making some progress, but I wish he would give me a hint. And ultimately what it is just Jiraiya kind of wanting Naruto to make a breakthrough on his own, and then he comes in to help him. And then he acts like a kind of more father-like figure and shows the kind of more caring side to him. So when he bursts the rubber ball instead of exploding it, he comes in and gives him the half and half ice pop thing, and it's the start of a closer relationship between the two. And I just like that you see that Naruto kind of is happy to have somewhat of a father figure in his life. And initially it came across like Jiraiya was completely trying to avoid that, but he does actually care about Naruto and is going to protect him while he's doing all this training. Then the only other thing is just that they mentioned that the technique that Naruto is learning, the Rasengan, which they haven't named yet, is the fourth Hokage's jutsu. He's the one who invented it, and it took him 3 years to master the technique. And Jiraiya has faith in Naruto that he can actually use this technique eventually, and just setting up that this is an A rank jutsu, S rank is the highest. This is one of the higher level techniques that you will learn. It's very important. If you can get this, you'll be very powerful. So, and just set up for okay, when Naruto gets it, it's going to be a big deal. And then he has a slightly different approach to using it, in that Jiraiya can just use one hand. He can do all of the parts of the technique with one hand, make a spiral, and do the whole thing. Whereas Naruto can do some of it with one hand, but he kind of requires two hands to use it. So just setting up the idea of his shadow clones becoming very important in him doing some of these more complex techniques, that he can't put all of these different things like one of the more genius characters in the show perhaps could, really manipulating chakra on multiple levels, whereas Naruto does need multiple extra hands to do these extra levels of the technique. So I like the kind of setup towards that here, that he's taking different approaches to using these techniques, and it adding into his character that Naruto has the potential to learn all these techniques, but he's not a genius level character that can just learn all these complex techniques easily. He has to take different approaches to it, have different takes on it, and so on. Yeah, I think that's about all I really wanted to say about this volume. It's very much, as I said, a transition volume. You get set up for some nice stuff. The Itachi Sasuke stuff towards the beginning of the volume, I think, is absolutely the best stuff in the volume. I don't mind the Rasengan stuff. I just think the chapters are a little dull, just because the nature of the training doesn't come across too well in terms of like exciting art in terms of a manga format. It works a little bit better in the animation, but it is needed explanation to explain the stuff. And then I do think some of the other training sequences are a little bit better as the show goes on, just because some of the stuff with the early Rasengan training never comes back. Like, is the whole clockwise, anti-clockwise kind of how your chakra flows through your body thing, is it ever mentioned again after this? Is it mentioned in regards to any technique like ever again? I really don't think it is. But for the most part, it is quite good. I'm just gonna stop doing the whole favorite art panel, favorite character from the volume, favorite quote, primarily because I feel like I tend to focus too much on just those specific moments as I go through the review, and then it tends to sometimes repeat myself as we go through. I think, like, just briefly, I'd say probably Itachi, I think, is probably the best character introduced here in terms of starting to get the idea about what he's about, and as I've highlighted, I think the Itachi stuff from the beginning is the best. The art, I think there's a lot of good stuff during the Itachi stuff, when he uses during the flashback, when he uses the Mangekyo Sharingan again, and then the hint that there's this other special technique, the Amaterasu, which can burn through like the mountain toad's mouth, which is already like a fire breathing toad, is very impressive. But yeah, just going to end the volume there. Next time round, we'll finish up this 3-in-1 edition with volume 18, and then we'll be moving on. We're getting towards the end now. Here we're well over the halfway point now in terms of Naruto Part 1. And yeah, I'm just excited to get towards the exciting stuff towards the end of the season. And then into the Shippuden stuff, the Part 2. Very excited for that. But yeah, it's been the volume review. Let me know your thoughts on this kind of slightly different format, where I'm not going through it like just page by page as I was before. I'm just cutting out some of the parts where I feel like I was repeating myself and stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, let me know your thoughts on this volume, the review. Thanks for watching, and bye.